Hello everyone and welcome to the Pixel Punch, where I tell you my gaming opinions, popular or unpopular. And welcome back to Summerween. And you know, when I decided to dive back into the PlayStation 1 era of survival horror, I was a bit excited. After all, besides the masterpieces of Resident Evil and Silent Hill, yes, I know this is a DualShock Director's Edition, shut up. There were other genuinely good games, such as Clock Tower, Dino Crisis, and Parasite Eve. However, I have to say that today's game is not one of those games. Developed by River Hillsoft and published by Kill Me Now, OverBlood was released in August of 1996 in Japan and May of 1997 in the US, and it couldn't figure out what the fuck to market itself as. Most people call OverBlood a survival horror adventure, but I honestly can't agree with that statement because the only scary thing about this game is that it has the old Electronic Arts logo. At the point it was released, Resident Evil was dominating the video game market, and there weren't really any other survival horror competitors at the time, so many assumed it was ripping off Resi 1, which isn't entirely an unfounded opinion. Since Capcom had started marketing for Resident Evil in 1994, with an appearance at the very first E3 in 1995, River Hillsoft had the time to think up OverBlood and develop it. And the company had done this before with a 3DO game called Dr. Hauser, which ripped off another horror classic, Alone in the Dark. However, considering how I feel about this game and I don't give a damn about 3DO, Dr. Hauser can go fuck itself. Surprisingly though, OverBlood has some big names attached to it, including Akihiro Hino, who founded Level 5, which has gone on to publish Ni no Kuni, Yokai Watch, and Professor Layton. So I don't understand, what went wrong here, guys? Well, we're just gonna have to jump in and find out. Guys, this is OverBlood. We start the game off with the PS1 trope of an intro of motherfucking bullshit. And I can't believe I already have something to bitch about, but these FMV models are rough. Yes, this was made in 1996, but it follows the Toy Story logic of everything is plastic. And then we move on to the menu screen. Oh really guys, you couldn't be fucked to make an interesting menu? Oh dear. Why are you putting dashes in their names? Why is there suspicious liquid? What the fuck is even going on here? Well, we wake up as a man who, god damn it, I already covered something with amnesia this month, and we must figure out how to raise the temperature. Oh no. So, OverBlood runs on tank controls like Resi 1 and Silent Hill, which I'm fine with, I can adapt to it very easily. But these controls are so overly sensitive. I even tried switching controllers thinking that was the issue, but no. It was all a load of horsecock. I'm sorry for putting that image in your head. After seeing this hilarious jump, I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I die? Well, okay, then I'll just restart and I can't fucking skip the intro credits. Turns out I was supposed to crouch at this panel and logic. Now, in this next room where you pick up the vest and the memory chip, you also want to crouch down at this chest and pick up the voice recorder here, because without it, you can't save the game. I'm not joking. You can completely miss a device that allows you to save the game because the developer thought that crouching wasn't important. Seriously, you can miss certain items and puzzle solutions because the game's like, no, you have to crouch, there's nothing here but a wally thing. Whoever made this design choice can buy me Super Mario Maker 2? Please? I want it. After spending 8 minutes trying to figure out how to unlock a door, I insert the memory chip into this robot here, and oh my god, it's so adorable. And here we get introduced to one of the best and most underutilized mechanics in this game, because the developers thought that crouching and pick up items was more important. In OverBlood, you have a total of 3 characters to play as, and you can switch at any time if they're in your party. This is mainly used to solve puzzles and reach items that other characters can't. The character that just joined our group is Peepo. I don't have anything else, that's all that's known about Peepo. I will admit though, this can get annoying after an hour and a half. Just a bit. Using Peepo to hack into this terminal, we find out where Raz Carsey, or Lars Carsey if you're from Europe. We also learn the only reason we woke up was because the facility was declared into a state of emergency. Raz, why aren't your lips moving? Here is also where I found out about the multiple angles you can have in OverBlood. By pressing L1, you can switch between a fixed camera-ish view, a behind-the-shoulder view, and a first-person view. This is cool in theory, but like the character switching, it's underutilized. You also never want to find first-person view because it looks like this. I apologize in advance. Finally escaping the cryopod room, we take an elevator up the facility and... I'm sorry, the zombies in OverBlood look like Kurt Connors when he's really hungover, and what the fuck is that, tomato soup? Who brought Campbell's to the apocalypse? Taking a memo allows us to view a series of codes, literally the only time I had to take notes in this game, and find out that the game doesn't actually pause in the item menu, which is really bad when changing items is as slow as molasses. It's not as bad in Silent Hill because the menu moves super quickly and the game does pause, but here, oh no. Here's also where I found the glory of Raz's pushing animation. Why was this game made? Well, now the elevator doesn't work, so you know what that means. Exploring time. After unlocking a door using a horrible PNG file, dear God, we push a lot of boxes around to fix the power and get a laser knife. Oh man, I hope we'll be able to use this often. Making our way through the facility some more, we find this anti-gravity device and... Cockface. Anyway, after floating over this gap in an unintentionally creepy manner, we open some doors and, Jesus Christ, this will never not be funny. Well, I didn't need my hearing anyway. What? After restoring power to the main generator using Peepo, we almost die because our anti-gravity device can't hold a door up for 2 seconds and use Peepo to save Raz.
Was easy.
After some extremely terrible platforming and tomato soup, all of the power is restored and we finally can use the elevator.
No.
Oh no, he's infected. Okay, so besides the fact that this makes absolutely no sense, Raz sounds a little unfazed about the whole thing. It's like he's broken a bone and can't play soccer anymore, but instead of being devastated, he's just like, oh no, how tragic. So yeah, Raz is infected and this scene just needs some simple plan to go with it.
How could this happen to me? I made my mistakes.
To make matters worse, the elevator stops moving and they have to search around the next floor. After this dumb puzzle that took a bit too long to solve, we follow someone into a room only to find dead bodies and... Oh shit, use the laser knife, use the laser knife! So, I know I'm supposed to take this seriously, but Raz just killed a zombie by stabbing it in the dick. Kinky. Unfortunately, during the struggle, Peepo was busted against the wall, leading Raz to cheesily shout, Peepo! You are really making this easy for me, man. Back to a party of 1, we take Peepo's memory chip and set off on our own. After going through some vents, we find another zombie terrorizing a woman, and oh, these controls are horrible. Let me just equip the knife and... oh, I can't equip the knife. Yep, the knife's purpose was literally for one puzzle and to avenge Peepo's death.
Yes, Raz. Try to use a knife. Die in futility.
Fuckwad. Waking up the woman, we learn her name is Millie and her model is terrifying. Millie, also graced with amnesia, joins Raz, with our new goal being to cure his infection. Oh, don't mind that robot, Millie, it's just my old friend Peepo. Now, the AI in this game has actually been pretty good, especially for PS1 standards. So, I wonder how Millie is in this game. Huh. After exploring and getting some chemical explosives, we find ourselves in an underground subway where we blow shit up. After avoiding a subway like John McClane, we get a handgun and enter a sterilization room.
Sterilization?
As in decontaminated.
You sure? I may want to have kids someday.
What is this game? What is this game? What is this game? Deciding to find a way to activate the decontamination process, Raz gives Millie the fucking handgun, are you serious? And does some more vent sluicing. Oh. Using Millie to open the doors, Raz fights his giant fan by crouching and learns about the ARNA virus, learn being a loose term. While Millie is being decontaminated, a zombie attacks and Raz... Ow. After getting away from the zombie, Millie takes Raz to a secluded garden in a facility where... Oh look, suspicious liquid. Oh, and there's some exposition about how the virus is dangerous, but we already knew that. Humanity's in danger, blah blah blah. Who wrote this shit? Raz wakes up to find his infection is still spreading, and who the fuck made this their idol animation? It looks weird, they're all hunched over, get them a chiropractor. After draining the water and climbing down the ladder hysterically. We enter the sewers, and by now we have so many items in our inventory, it's actually a bit infuriating. Our heroes narrowly escape only to be confronted by another zombie, and good lord, this fighting is really bad. There's no strategy besides push X until your opponent dies, but the movement is so cumbersome and slow that it can easily throw off your rhythm. The gunplay doesn't really improve things, as it's literally the same thing with just a bit more power and less accuracy. I didn't like it. Entering the elevator to take us to the second floor, Raz starts to feel his mutation flare up again, and the stowaway makes their appearance known. The two manage to escape the elevator, unaware that someone is watching them, with the goal to get Millie out of the facility while leaving Raz to die. It's also revealed that Millie is actually not an amnesiac, but a scientist who knows about the virus, and jeez, that model's still creepy. Now, here we come up to one of my least favorite segments in the game, which actually has barely anything to talk about at all. Entering a maze of hallways, Raz snoops around picking up the occasional goodie, but it's mostly just a series of monotonous puzzles and frustrating air duct crawling. I died multiple times to this bullshit jump though. The big things we learn are... Excuse me! The big things we learn are that the facility is underground and the place that we've been in, Lystra Lab, was doing something called the Counterfeit Project, and the government interfered so they could have stronger combatants in the army. Uh-oh, someone's been watching too much Marvel! The person who made the memo was also one Millie Azray. Oh! Yeah, Millie denies knowing anything about it. You know, usually stun guns are used for, like, protection? Not for opening metal boxes that contain a one-use item! After lots of boring walking around in puzzles, Raz starts his mutation into Jesus Christ! After Millie tases the shit out of him, she takes him to the med lab and reverses the mutation. Ah! Why was this a part of the story if the conflict of it lasts a grand total of 3 minutes? If something is written out as if it was just a mild inconvenience, take it out of the story. Seriously, what the fuck were the writers thinking when they wrote this shit? Okay. I played some Spyro, drank some lemonade. I think I'm ready now. After doing some more maze wandering and puzzling, we arrive at a control room and... Inserting a CD into the main computer, we learn that the cause of the emergency was an 8.9 earthquake, and we get a pretty interesting cinematic questioning the treatment of clones and their relationships to the scientists. Now, that's something I like. That's awesome, intelligent, and such a great moment in this. Millie's a clone. Motherfucker! After learning some facts that we already kind of know, the big bad decides to talk to us and... Oh, that lighting definitely ruined the twist, guys. After the villain pleads with Millie to escape with him and always be with him, the two heroes continue on to Whee! In all seriousness though, why is there a vehicle segment so late in the game? It's like playing Crash Bandicoot Warped where all the levels are platforming, but then the very end is just motorcycle segments. Very jarring overall. And holy shit, somehow the controls are even more sensitive than the tank controls. I'm surprised I actually made it in one go. Oh, I live it on the edge with that health. Exiting the tunnels, we find another zombie, quite poorly I might add, and try to enter an elevator. Of course, when we try to enter, the zombie from earlier comes back and kidnaps Millie, while Raz is knocked back by spoiled plot twist number 2.
Millie!
Reaching the top floor, we get past some robot guards and finally learn the fact that Raz is a clone of the scientist, dubbed by the fanbase as Raz Carsey Alpha. Shocking. What's even more stupid about this is that Raz fucking Carsey Alpha literally set this up to be a twist in universe.
Zeus, light, please.
So if I shoot the television, with 10 minutes left to get out of the lab before it self-destructs, Alpha prepares to shoot Raz only for Millie to wake up and lightly tap his arm away. After an aftershock knocks the gun out of Alpha's hand and Millie takes it, Alpha does...
No, no, no,
Well, after Alpha gets that out of his system,
no.
he himself mutates from the ARNA virus and oh shit. Yeah, this fight is a bit unfair. Up until now, the enemies have been fairly weak and can be taken out with just punches. However, for this fight, you need to use the inaccurate handgun, and it's not exactly the most fun thing in the world, especially since Alpha is a lot stronger and faster than the other zombies. And the fact you need to flip through the inventory during this fight doesn't help matters. And it's time to. So, no fucking pressure! After defeating Alpha, we go to the main computer, Zeus, and after failing to open the door using voice identification, we insert Peepo's memory chip. Peepo overrides Zeus and opens the door for us. Escape, however, is quickly interrupted by a revived Alpha who I had to fight again. And I kept dying during this fight, so I had to rewatch all the unskippable cutscenes and do both phases of the fight multiple times. In fact, I had to redo it so many times that in total, out of my 3-hour and 49-minute playthrough, 28 minutes were devoted to beating this boss. God damn it, River Hillsoft. I luckily managed to find extra clips and a first aid spray in the hallway, so my next couple of fights had more of a chance. However, it was still obscenely unfair and a huge difficulty curve. I eventually had to go into a different camera view because it made it significantly easier to aim the gun, but the game never gives you a slight hint about that. And I also ran out of ammo, so I killed him by beating his skull instead. It didn't even feel like a victory, it felt like I just finished a chore. Oh wait, he's standing back up. For fuck's sake. Well, Millie and Raz escape in a jet, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing to comment about the ending. We just fry Alpha and then sail off into the sky. I'm done with this game. OverBlood has the potential to be a great cheese fest like most early PS1 or adventure games, but unfortunately, the tedium, the lack of danger, poor sense of direction, and the fact it wants to be taken seriously just ruins the experience of it. It's much better just to watch someone else play it because laughing at their misery instead of being behind the wheel of it is a much better experience. In fact, that's how most people found out about OverBlood was through Game Informer's Super Replay of it. Unfortunately, OverBlood joins the ranks of Heavy Rain and Bionicle Matoran Adventures and gets unavoided. It isn't as bad as either of those games because it's not offensive or near unplayable, but I wouldn't recommend you a game that is either frustrating or boring. That being said, OverBlood actually did get a European and Japanese exclusive sequel. I wonder what it's like. It's fucking Final Fantasy VII.